You're just cut on your words.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Hälsa Health Show where we help you play at 100%. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Cuan Coetzee, all the way from South Africa. Welcome Cuan.
Thank you.
So, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Great, so yeah, as you said, I'm a chiropractor from South Africa. Moved here to the UK about 4 months ago.
Excellent.
Ran my own practice in a small town called East London, which is interesting because now I live quite close to East London in the UK.
Yes.
Yeah, my passion is movement, exercise. Personally, my brother's almost an orthopedic surgeon, so it's kind of in our family. And yeah, my passion is just to help people, and I've got such a cool privilege of being able to do that for a living.
Excellent. So, you said as a chiropractor you focus your skills on certain areas. What would you say is your primary focus in practice?
I would say definitely getting people moving, or at least keeping them moving. And as a turn, yeah, it just helps them prevent so many more mechanical issues in the future. And just by focusing on the mechanics, the nervous system can do its part.
Excellent. So you've got a whole brand set up around this. That's this. So can you tell us a little bit more?
Cool. So MoveMed started, the term was coined in 2013 when I was still in South Africa. And the catchphrase was movement is medicine and both are a privilege. And in South Africa, that's so obvious. Just poverty-ridden country, but so just having healthcare itself is a privilege.
Yeah.
And then what I realized is also movement. The only excuse I get or I accept for people not doing exercise is if they haven't got shoes. So that was quite obvious in South Africa. So yes, my passion is just to get people moving.
So why do you think it's so important for people to be educated about movement?
I think we get so blown away with the workplace stress, etc., where people just don't actually realize the importance of exercise, or they think that perhaps it's like this big thing that you have to do for 2 hours every day, when honestly just doing a simple stretch or a simple core activation in itself can be exercise. And yes, we'll touch on it just now, but the benefits of getting people moving is huge.
Okay, so what is it when you're teaching about movement? What is the most important thing you think about movement? What's the most important principle or the most important principles?
So with MoveMed, we've basically identified 3 principles where I think across the board, we all lack somewhere with flexibility. Actually got them in here. We all lack somewhere with flexibility. Just as you and I are sitting right now, our glutes are short. So we don't often get taught about the need to stretch our glutes, for instance. If you're sitting at a desk where your shoulders are actually rounding for 8 to 10 hours a day, we should be stretching them backwards. So flexibility is a big one. Core strength, seats and seat belts and backrests of chairs teaches the body to not use its core, which is obviously there to hold up the spine itself. And then proprioception, that's a funny one. Not many people know what it means. It's just the body's ability to actually balance. Just us growing up with shoes means that the arches of our feet lose the ability to keep us balanced. So yes, we just try to get people doing all those.
Okay, so I'm sure we've spoken about what we need to do, what the principles are. What is the side effect if you don't move? What happens to your body?
So there's a few principles we'll cover just now, but if you don't move, if you don't use it, then you lose it. If you don't use a muscle, it will waste away. If you don't use a joint, eventually it will fuse. If you don't move a tendon, it gets weaker. So it just also puts you at risk of a heap of chronic diseases, where it's well documented that exercise can just decrease your risk hugely.
Good. So can you go through some of the benefits of it? What are the benefits of movement? How can it help us?
So in the media it's often badly publicized, where movement is basically just for a healthy heart or getting ripped. When not many people speak about the benefits of movement, such as the anti-inflammatory effect, the decreased risk of using opioids, which is a huge crisis at the moment, the effect on depression and anxiety.
They recently had a thing on the BBC about that, where they were saying that if just going swimming in cold water is more effective than taking Prozac, and that, I suppose, does that link in with movement?
Definitely, I'd suggest so.
Yeah?
100%.
Good. So I know you've got Do you want to go through what you've got here?
I think we already covered that.
Covered most of it, the benefits of movement. We didn't touch on this here in the anti-inflammatory properties. How does movement even help that?
So the research will show that if you keep exercising or keep moving, your risk of insulin sensitivity and type 2 diabetes goes down drastically. And also the anti-inflammatory. So, I mean, probably like one of the biggest selling drug at the moment would be over-the-counter anti-inflammatories. And just by doing exercise and keeping the body moving has a positive effect on inflammation, which is huge.
Don't you think it's also interesting how it's changed in medicine and in the field that we work in? It used to be if you're injured, you rest. Do you feel that that's changed?
So during the acute phase of injury, like within the first 72 hours, your job is to control the inflammation. But instead of taking it away, just increase the blood flow to the area. That'll speed up the actual healing process. But from day 3 to 14, in the past it was always rest. Now it is actually keep it moving. If you move a ligament or a muscle or a tendon, by just doing gradual movement, it stimulates growth in those planes as opposed to just a big ball of scar tissue.
Excellent. So basically the lesson is just keep moving, right?
Correct, yeah.
So on that note, you've got quite a few videos out on YouTube.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little about that? Do you enjoy the creative process?
I do. So MoveMed was designed as like a media platform, just to educate the entire world. So yes, been slowly testing it out. I'm not the best on a video yet, but yes, like it is a cool, simple, easy way. Instagram only gives you sort of 1 minute, so it's a nice way just to once a week teach someone about something, and movement in medicine, and I think knowledge is power.
It is indeed. And again, on that note, you're also writing a book.
Yes.
So can you tell us about that?
Very, very excited. Have a draft copy, which is not out yet, obviously, but holding thumbs, crossing fingers. Early next year, hopefully the first draft will be out.
And what are you hoping to teach people through that?
So it's just 7 years of what I've learned in practice. We cover the 3 broad concepts of MoveMed. We cover a few things on genetics, how movement can affect your genetics, the chiropractic side of movement, the diet side of movement, recovery, and exercise, particularly zone 2. But yes, just the benefits of movement and what I've seen it helping patients.
Good. So how do you apply this in your own life? Obviously, we want to teach it to all of our patients, but how do you use this in your own life?
I think I do practice what I preach. So we'll cover the recovery graph just now, but it's so simple. If you don't recover from anything, your body will have less health or less fitness going forward. So yes, I do try to practice what I preach. My family hates it. I'm always sort of at them about their stretching, etc. My brother, the orthopedic guy, he's got the worst flexibility in the world. So yes, constantly trying to be an example.
Good, I like that. We really should practice what we preach at all times. So can you go through that recovery process with us? Because I mean, we encourage people to exercise, we encourage them to go out there, but not a lot of people know how important it is what happens afterwards. So can you run through that with us?
We'll go with the principles just now. So very simple. If we had to do exercise or take our say fitness or health. So let's say you and I are both here right now, right? Then right now you and I go for a 10 or 15k run. Directly after the run, our fitness goes down, our immune system goes down a little bit because we're obviously fatigued. Okay, so after you've done your fitness, then you're supposed to recover. So what happens between there and there, how much recovery you get, the quality of your recovery, is directly proportional to your new level of fitness or health. And something that I've found that's so interesting is I invested in a Garmin with a wrist heart rate. So overnight, it takes a very accurate resting heart rate. And if I wake up in the morning and I see that there's a small spike in my heart rate, it means that the body hasn't recovered from something. So that day I'll do a zone 2 or a very easy day where it's stretching or core, etc. And the next day, the resting heart rate graph goes straight down, and then that day you can train a bit harder. Often you wake up and you're feeling good, but your heart rate tells you that you're actually feeling useless. So yes.
That's a very important thing to say, because so often in practice we say it's not really important about how you feel, it's how you function.
Correct.
And heart rate monitors your function, right?
Very good.
So can you explain to us about this zone 2 exercise? I mean, just tell me, I need more information, please.
So on Strava, I get a lot of flack about it because every session I just post zone 2 as usual, zone 2 as usual. And yeah, zone 2 is quite simple. It is a zone where you're benefiting from cardiovascular fitness. It's a pace, if you're running, etc., where it's fast enough for you to gain fitness, but it's slow enough for you to recover. So most exercise should be done in zone 2. When you're pushing hard, you should go into the red zone.
Yeah.
And that's how you can break down the body in a positive way, and provided your recovery is good, it will super compensate and you'll actually get fitter. The biggest problem across the board is that everyone lives in zone 3. So you're running at a pace where it's too fast to recover, but it's too slow to get fitter. So yeah, you just get those people who just are in that same zone, and and also goes into life. If you're at a 8 to 5 job, so the whole day your body's under a zone 3 stress, you just need to recover better. And when you do recover better, you can do everything else harder.
Good. So I think one of the things with modern times, a lot of people, they're out working in the offices all day, and then they feel really tired and say, I don't really have time for exercise.
Yes.
How would you counter that? I mean, how are you going to explain the benefits to them, the principles behind it? What is it going to do to change their life if they make time? How would you approach that?
Great. So, I mean, it's every single person that I see, there is a time constraint. I mean, you only have so many hours in a day. I would just try to convince them that starting with baby steps is all that you have to do. So if you're at a desk job, I'll show you how to stretch at your desk. Show you things that you can do at work that will just counteract the chronic stress cycle. Those who are doing exercise already, I'll then try and see where we can sort of tweak it a bit, get them recovering better, get them stretching more, get their core better, etc.
Okay, excellent. So you've also just recently competed in the London Duathlon. How did that go?
Not bad. Yeah, so in my age group got a 3rd place, and it was quite cool. Literally just stuck to the basics. I did most of my training in zone 2. 3 weeks before I got hit by a car, thanks London.
Oh wow.
Yes, and honestly everything just went perfectly, didn't get sick, and on the day, honestly for 80 kg runner, there's no real reason that I could have done those kinds of times, except just sticking to the basics, recovering well, training hard.
Always stick to the basics. So on that note, would you be happy to show us some basic exercises that we can apply at home?
Definitely.
Excellent, let's go do that.
Cool.
Great, so you're going to show me 4 simple things to do to help my movement and therefore my medicine, right?
Correct.
Excellent.
So it's very simple. If you're at your desk or at work, let me show you a simple glute stretch.
Yeah.
You can just take a seat for me. So here's case in point. Most people will sit with their back against the back support. What that does is it teaches your core not to work. So come right to the edge of your chair, make yourself as tall as possible, cross your legs like that. Perfect. Now make yourself tall again, and then just lean forward, but keep your back straight. You should feel it somewhere in the bum.
Yes.
Brilliant, that's as simple as it is. So you can literally be at your desk typing while doing that. The next one is to counteract your keyboard posture or your driving posture or just the normal 21st century slouch. And that's, you can do that easily through any doorway. You just lean forward and you just hang. It's as easy as that. You want to try that?
Right. Shoulder.
Forearms flush, yes, forearms flush. And then just by leaning forward, you should feel a stretch across the front.
Yes.
Easy as that.
Feels good.
The thing with stretching to realize is that you don't have to count to 30, so it won't take any mental time out of your day. You just need to hold it until it stretches less, and then it's done. Try and do that throughout the day. Roughly every hour you can do it. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Let me show you a core activation. If you can lie down on the floor for me. So important to realize here is that you can do this activation literally at your desk as well. And the whole point of the core activation is just to teach the body again how it's meant to fire. So if you put your fingers pretty much between your belly button and your pelvic bone over here, those are the abs that I want you to try suck against your spine right now. Okay, hold that for me, and at the same time, stop a week. Use so if you're ready, deep pelvic floor muscles, stop a week. Now keep both of those active and try and breathe normally. It should feel weird, it should feel like you're almost having to breathe into your lungs, ribs, sorry. And yes, and you just try and keep that active for as many breaths as you can. As soon as your fingers feel it gets fatigued, stop, have a break. And yes, you'll see that your endurance gets better, your body will naturally activate your core more, and practically you can do this activation when you're trying to bend down to pick up something, just supports the lower back. So if you can just stand on one leg for me with your eyes open. Now close your eyes. So we should see that Quinton's feet start to actually rock and roll a bit, and that is the function of proprioception, is that it's meant to tell your body where you are in space. Just growing up with shoes on will decrease your body's way of balancing itself, and especially if you're elderly, this is directly linked to your risk of falling, which is quite priceless if you can improve that.
Exactly. Great. 4 simple things to do.
Simple as that.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Hälsa Health Show.